Ambassador Zethkar adjusted his ornate ceremonial robes as he approached the vast crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council. The Vorthak diplomat's four eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Today would mark the formal dismissal of the most insignificant species to ever petition for membership. The humans. Esteemed council members, Zethkar announced, his voice echoing through the amphitheater where representatives of 300 species sat in judgment. We gather to address the final petition of the species calling itself humanity, from the unremarkable world designated Terra 3, locally known as Earth. A ripple of amused chittering passed through the assembly. The Selnari representative's tentacles writhed in what passed for laughter among her kind. Are we truly wasting precious council time on those primitive bipeds? Their technology barely allows them to leave their own star system. High Counselor Vexthol, ancient leader of the Arxian hegemony, raised one of his 6 arms for silence. Ambassador Zethkar has compiled a comprehensive report on this Earth. Let him present his findings. Zethkar's chest swelled with pride. Honored Council, after extensive observation, I declare humanity to be utterly irrelevant to galactic civilization. They possess no unique technologies, no rare resources, and no exceptional abilities. They are violent, primitive creatures who have barely mastered interplanetary travel. Their lifespans are laughably short, less than a standard galactic century. They cannot telepathically communicate like the Zenthari, manipulate gravity like the Moltec, or phase through dimensions like the ethereal Pharaon. The council members nodded in agreement. Why waste resources on such an underwhelming species? Furthermore, Zethkar continued, they are divided into hundreds of sub-factions called nations that constantly wage war amongst themselves. They destroy their own environment, squander resources, and display remarkable stupidity in their decision-making processes. I recommend we classify Earth as a quarantine zone and forbid their expansion beyond their solar system. High Counselor Vexthol's ancient voice boomed through the chamber. The motion is approved. Earth is hereby classified as irrelevant to galactic interests. Any human vessels found beyond their solar system will be destroyed without warning. The gavel fell with a resounding crack that seemed to seal humanity's fate. 50 years later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESV Prometheus, humanity's first true interstellar vessel. The ship was crude by galactic standards, no exotic matter drives or dimensional folding technology. Just raw nuclear fusion, spinning sections for artificial gravity and human ingenuity. Admiral, Communications Officer Rodriguez called out, we're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler 4E42 system. It's the Arxian colony ship Veltheros. Chen's jaw tightened. The same Arxians who had voted to quarantine Earth decades ago. What's their situation? They're under attack by something called the Devourers, some kind of extra-dimensional parasites. The entire Arxian fleet has been consumed. They're requesting immediate assistance from any vessel in range. The bridge fell silent. Every officer present knew the history. The Galactic Council had made it clear. Humans were unwelcome, irrelevant, beneath notice. Admiral, Rodriguez continued quietly, they don't know it's a human ship responding. Chen closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her daughter back on Earth, of the billions of humans who lived their supposedly insignificant lives. Then she opened them, steel determination blazing in her gaze. Set course for Kepler 442, maximum burn. But Admiral, her XO protested, the Council will destroy us if they discover we violated the quarantine. Chen smiled grimly. Then they better hope we survive long enough for them to try. The battle was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The Devourers were creatures of pure entropy, beings that existed between dimensions feeding on organized matter and energy. Advanced weapons passed harmlessly through them. Shields meant nothing. Entire Arxian battleships simply dissolved. The Prometheus arrived to find a graveyard of the galaxy's most sophisticated vessels. How do we fight something we can't touch? Rodriguez whispered in horror. But Chen was studying the tactical display with the pattern recognition skills that had made humans such effective persistence hunters. Look at their movement patterns. They're not random, they're following electromagnetic signatures. Our neural implants are quantum computers. They're attracted to complexity. She turned to her weapons officer. Maddox, prepare the kinetic batteries. Chemical explosives only, nothing electronic. Admiral, those are antique weapons. They'll barely scratch paint off their hull. We're not aiming for their hulls. Chen's smile was predatory. We're going hunting. What followed defied every tactical doctrine in the Galactic playbook. The Prometheus didn't try to outrun or outgun the Devourers. Instead, it did something no civilized species would ever consider. It charged directly into their midst, weapons blazing with crude chemical propellants and metal projectiles. The Devourers, accustomed to feeding on exotic energies and quantum fields, recoiled from the raw, primitive kinetic force. The humans fought like their ancestors had fought on ancient battlefields, with steel and fire and absolute refusal to yield. When the Devourer swarm finally retreated back to their dimensional rifts, the Prometheus stood alone among the wreckage, scarred but triumphant. The rescue shuttles from the surviving Arxian colony ship docked with almost religious reverence. High Counselor Vexthul himself, ancient, proud, humbled, stepped aboard the human vessel. Your species was declared irrelevant, he said, his 6 eyes unable to meet Admiral Chen's steady gaze. Why did you come? Chen looked out at the stars through the bridge viewports, thinking of Earth, that small blue world of impossible dreamers and stubborn survivors. Because sometimes, she said quietly, being irrelevant means nobody expects you to show up when it matters most. And sometimes that's exactly what the galaxy needs. The old counselor was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, all 6 of his arms moved in the deepest gesture of respect his species possessed. Perhaps, he whispered, we should reconsider our definitions of relevance. Behind them, the stars continued their ancient dance while somewhere in the darkness, humanity prepared to show the galaxy that being underestimated was the greatest weapon of all.